Welcome to our joint venture between The Awakening and Mindwars. You'll find Chris on mindwars.uk. I'm on awakeningpodcast.org. We're both on BitChute and YouTube, and we have Facebook as well. So, hey, Chris, how's the farm?
Absolutely fantastic. Yourself, Roy?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Looking forward to getting the year to end.
Exactly, and another one that's going to be more doom and gloom ahead as the elites have planned out for us with our consent as usual. So, yeah, interesting times. What an interesting year it was, and another one in 2021 just to come around the corner.
So I know that you've been looking into J&J, Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, a small bit. I mean, you say you generally don't have to look for too far for these big pharmas, and of course they're ever more evident these days with the vaccines and all that going around. The massive talk about pharmaceutical companies all around the world. But only recently there was an article done, I believe it was in November time, where Johnson & Johnson were basically to the fine tune of $120 million US. They were found guilty by a judge in order to pay that amount of money to a woman that had been using Johnson & Johnson's baby powder, the talc, for, she reckons, over 50 years. And she says that has been the cause of her cancer. And her husband as well was involved, and that's the money she got out. But of course, Johnson & Johnson are going to go back on the case, and they said there was loopholes and this wasn't right and that wasn't right and so on and so on. But the judge has ordered Johnson & Johnson to pay this woman 120 mil that they basically said that they found asbestos in the talc powder, and that's what they've been finding. So the 1970s until I think around the early 2000s, they said that's what they've been finding inside it, and they said they found it more than one occasion, and I can leave an article for people to read in the description below. But that's the beautiful Johnson & Johnson. So another household name.
I had read that before, and I'd seen details on that. So they've been known for doing that. So there's a lot of people who suffered from that. And like the sad part is, a lot of people, they use that talcum powder from their babies.
Exactly.
People have to stop trusting pharmaceutical companies because, we've shown it in different shows with different guests, how, the whole lot, it's corruption, it's sick what they actually do. So, the money doesn't help, like fining them, they should be shut down. You need to form an ethical pharmaceutical company that's not on the stock exchange, because unfortunately, a lot of people are actually putting their shares into this. They're buying the shares, their pensions are in it. You need to change that, because how can, you're funding the bad boys, basically. You need to, watch where your dollars are going.
Exactly. I mean, Big Pharma was never ever about health. It's always about profit over health. And that's the key area people need to realize. And like you're saying, the Johnson & Johnson baby powder, that talcum powder, has been in nearly every household I know back in Ireland, England, and places like that, and across the world. It's not just those places. It's like a household name that a lot of people have trusted over the years, that they always verify that and go for the Johnson & Johnson. Not to know that Johnson & Johnson had asbestos inside in their talcum powder, that this judge found them guilty of it, leading to this woman's cancer, and many, many other cases around the world as well. So, as you say, not another big pharma company that's not ethical. I've yet to see one that is ethical.
Yeah, and I know we saw the nurse that actually collapsed a couple of weeks ago from taking the injection, and just something that I saw is the fact checkers came up with the post that was on it. And they were the messages were a bit different, but it was funny, like basically saying she had an underlying condition that when she feels pain, she faints. And that's the fact checkers. So yeah. I can actually send you the video for that. I mean, it's silent. I just recorded the 4 different fact checkers, and they all had kind of different, they didn't stick to the same facts. So that just even shows how they operate. And I know that there was some other nurse, alleged nurse. I mean, at this stage, it's very hard, but you've seen something as well.
I've seen it there that it was a girl over in the United States, Tennessee, and she's claiming to be a registered nurse. Maybe she isn't. There's so many conflicting videos going on about it. There's so many people saying that a lot of nurses are going on and just doing this, and they say it's a hoax. But this girl, she's saying it from her mouth herself. I can't prove that she's not a registered nurse. And she's basically over in the States, and I have a little minute or so video of it, and she verifying this herself and the claim that we were saying that she is. But basically after getting the vaccine, she said she felt fine at first, and then approximately 3 days later, she went to the doctor, and all her face was paralyzed at one side. So she got Bell's palsy. And that Bell's palsy seems to be ringing in our ears a lot recently, between the trials they've done with the COVID vaccine and people afterwards. One of the common denominators that a lot of these nurses and these people are getting after it is the Bell's palsy. So it seems to be creeping in quite a bit, and we're still at the very, very early stages. of this, COVID-19 vaccine. So that's interesting. But I'll just play the video for viewers to see for themselves what she had to say in her own words.
Hi, I am a registered nurse in Nashville, Tennessee, and my name is Kalila Mitchell. I'm reaching out to everyone about the COVID-19 vaccination. I recently took the COVID-19 vaccination. After the shot, I felt fine, but within 3 days, I went to the doctor because I had problems with my face. The whole left side of my face, actually. I have Bell palsy now. And as you can see, I can't smile. I'm trying to smile. I'm just kind of embarrassing for it. But I just want everyone to know that I think this vaccination is the worst thing ever. And I would not give this to anybody, even my worst enemy. Please, America, they do not care about us. Do not take this vaccination.
Just what I saw as well during the week, and I put it up on my Facebook page, is they were showing the CDC, which is the American Institute that shows the amount of flus this year and last year, and they kind of have the green zones, which are nice and okay, safe, and the red zones, which are dodgy. So if you look at 2019, you could see the whole American nation, going close to red. But amazing, 2020 is everything is green, nice and green. It's amazing how the flu has disappeared when COVID has jumped out of the television screen, scaring the bejesus out of people, isn't it?
Exactly. That's an interesting one. I mean, even the video I think you showed me, or one of the guys showed me a few weeks ago, actually over in Ireland, and the news presenter had said, he didn't say it's a miracle, but he said, no, flu has pretty much disappeared. It's great. Nobody's asking the questions as to why the flu just miraculously disappears. Just, it disappeared. No more talk about it. Here in England, they've said in many reports, they said there's at least over 70%, I believe it's a lot more. They said over 70% of the flu is gone this year. We're down over 70%, in other words, of flu cases this year. And, pretty much that's a miracle, isn't it? So it's kind of, if you see the graphs, and we know there's so many different graphs, one can be line and one can be positive, depending on who's behind the graph as well, of course. But you don't want someone like Neil Ferguson, of course, behind that graph, or you're in no man's land after that. But the graph, it's funny because the flu starts to go down this year. But as soon as the rate of the flu going down, the COVID-19 starts to go up at pretty much almost identical, the very same rate. So that's interesting how that has materialized.
So we know about Portugal and the PCR test that the courts kind of voted that they weren't actually true and don't work. But unfortunately in Spain, it's not the same thing. So you have a bit of information on what's going on with the Spanish.
Yeah. Well, in Spain is the situation with the one you're referring to, obviously, was the Portugal situation, and they deemed it in court. The judge threw it out and pretty much said that, why are we quarantining our people when the PCR test is inaccurate, as we've went through multiple times, the inaccuracy of it. And it's not fit for purpose. But in Spain, they've just rolled out the vaccine the last couple of days, and they basically said that, like other countries, it's not mandatory. You can come and get it at your own will. But the clause in it is that when it's your turn and you're asked to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and if you refuse it, we're going to register you, basically saying that you've refused it, and we're going to hold you on a database. Now, I can leave an article in the description below for people to read themselves, but they don't go into very much detail as to why. They want to know actually why as well, and that if you refuse it, you're entitled to refuse it, but they want to know why, and then put that down on the registry system over with the Spanish authorities for some nefarious ways, of course, down the line again, that you're not going to remain anonymous. So that's interesting what they are doing. But at the end of the day, I'd say people is like, well, I won't be going to you, saying that I'm in or I'm out or anything that. I just won't be partaking any part in your system got to do with COVID-19 vaccines. So I won't have to give you any reasons. I don't have to give you any reasons as to why I will not be taking a vaccine. So unless there's some different draconian Spanish authority rules over there that I'm unaware of, but people should be open to their own body integrity, what they can and what they won't do and what they will and won't allow into their body. So you don't have to give granted some part of permission and go down some database into some authority. I'm sorry, but no, that's not working here. So
but I can see it coming everywhere because like even our own Irish company that are kind of big in Europe, Ryanair, like I was looking at the advertisement because I'd be on the email list, and it was like jab and fly, and it was like sad.
Yeah, jab and go or something onto that slogan they
Yeah.
had in the situation. And yeah, and it's just disgusting. The actual, the advert that they have on YouTube for it. Of course, we're getting a lot of backlash. I believe the if you see the thumbs up in it, I only looked at it maybe 2 days ago. It was way more thumbs down, I should say, than thumbs up. It just showed that people are spoke. They don't want any of this kind of stuff at all. And yeah, I can leave it here for people to actually see the video for themselves.
And just something, I mean, I was trying to find it, but it's gone back maybe 2 years ago or a year ago. I was, because I'd obviously, I'm living in Poland. I was going to go back to Ireland for a trip, and I wasn't sure would I bring my son, because, maybe he was 5 at that time. And I was looking at booking, and, the price was X amount. And then I said, okay, maybe I'll bring him. The price increased for me when I was bringing my child, and I actually recorded it.
Jesus.
So I don't know what games they'd be playing, but yeah, like, it's unbelievable. But I must dig that out. I'll try to find that and, send the link for that so people can see, what kind of dirty tricks that they do. And, just kind of, because you were on about the thumbs up and the thumbs down. So since we're on that, I'd like to just talk about, we're always kind of complaining about, the shadow banning and the YouTube taking us off and everything. But
of course,
like, we knew it's bad. Like one of the guys that I'd be following in Ireland, the Hub Ireland, because they're very good for helping people that have been evicted through the vulture funds and all the corruption going on there. And the guy was showing the statistics of his page. Obviously, he's got more people following him, and it's like 10% of the amount of engagements this year compared to last year. So they're just totally being shadow banned. And like one of my guests, Steve Ferrer, like as you know, some people will, they'll give you a thumbs up and they'll give you a little comment and everything on your stuff, which all helps. And he's realized that all his thumbs up comments from my stuff was gone, and on other people as well. So he had to go in and so they're even removing your thumbs up because they don't want people to see that it's popular.
Is this on Facebook?
On Facebook.
Yeah.
It's like sick. So, I mean, like, just for people to be aware, like, we've come together, we're sick of what's going on. So we're after making the Freedom Broadcasters. And at the moment, it's just for podcasters, but journalists as well. And our aim is to create an alternative to this, because not just us, like, we've seen people, I've had guests, you've had guests, obviously, doctors, pharmacists, all, whether they're Facebook, their whole pages. There's one guy, he had 40,000 followers. The whole lot just disappeared. Loads of stuff on Google and everything. So,
naturopathic people have been deleted.
We have to stop saying, oh, this is bad. I know there's VK, there's MeWe, there's other things. I don't find them user friendly. So look, we're trying to create an alternative and just, watch the space on that one.
It's interesting because that Freedom Broadcasters that we set up and all that, any of the videos I post inside in that, gone. I go into it an hour or two later, gone. You've even checked it yourself. You've seen them go off the screen. They've just been lifted out of the screen in the Facebook page they set up for the Freedom Broadcasters. That's interesting as well.
and the same with, because we have a doctor as well as part of this, Mary, and hers as well have been disappeared. And I was like, that can't be possible. So they're actually removing your links that you've been posting of your podcasts. So that just shows how bad they are.
They're not even telling us now about it, or there's nothing even come up about alleged misinformation. Nothing at all. It's just you go back and they're not there. They're simply just gone. That's it.
Yeah. They just assume you don't go back, and that's why they're probably doing it. Like.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen people liked it and put thumbs up and love hearts and stuff in it, and then you go back maybe a few hours or whatever later, and completely gone off the system. And I even, rang you one night, said, can you check at your side, maybe just not showing up on my side here. You checked it, and within a minute you could see, no, gone. All the ones you posted on are just gone. So, and it seemed to be up as gone. Mary, the doctor, is in the States with us as well, and her stuff is medical stuff, and gone as well. Yeah. The censorship is just insanity. Just
unbelievable. Yeah. And I mean, I know that a lot of it is like it's done by AI. It's not obviously individuals doing this. They have a formula, but you've got some stuff on the AI as well, on the kind of military and.
Yeah, it was just an interesting
robotics.
Article. Yeah, the way of the future, of course. Yeah, it was just an interesting article that I had here actually from the New York Post on December 19th. And I'll read a small bit out. I'll leave a link in the description below for people, but I'll just read one or two little paragraphs out of it. The heading of the newspaper is France and China developing biologically engineered super soldiers going into the future. So it says, due to DNA manipulation, future soldiers could also be immune to disease and feelings. A recent report by the International Society for Military Ethics in Europe, obtained by the Sun, reveals a dystopic arena full of bionic men capable of fighting all the time. Enhanced soldiers will be reduced to bionic men who run fast, do not sleep, eat and drink very little, and can fight all the time, the report states. A new species is born, Homo robocopus. That's what they call it. It looks, and if you see the picture on it there as well, it's something like a Robocop for all the world with a bit of added Terminator effect into it. So
we better look for Sarah Connor. Connor.
But that's the dystopian future that you're heading down. Imagine these super soldiers on the streets, engineered and with no feelings, can fight all day, all night. And they can just keep going on autopilot.
Well, I don't know. With the military and the police at the moment, I see a lot of the times they're beating peaceful protesters. So I think some people actually are at that level already without any artificial intelligence injected into them. So
there's plenty of those around from protests I've been to in London and the metropolitan area and all that. It's horrendous, some of the stuff they do. They're just absolute morons that they send into this stuff, just battering people through the crowds. But if you go to different parts of England, like Birmingham or other cities, people have been there to protest and they said it's a lot calmer. So it's just London has a bit of a more vicious streak to it than some of the other cities. Not that it's not going on in the other cities, it is as well. But London seems to get the battering of it that way. So that's interesting as well to add to that with what they're developing in the background for us, which has been going on for many, many days anyway. But it's just interesting. The New York Post brought it up recently.
Exactly. And like a lot of the stuff, it's all planned and everything. I know it isn't like a new council. There was a thing done in 2016 that it was kind of the new council forum, I think.
That's right. Yeah, there's it's been going on for set up, I believe, in 2016 as well. And there's an article people can look for themselves in the description below, or if they want to just go to their website and check it out for themselves. And I'm actually going to read one or two clips directly off their website itself. So what it is basically is the Council for Inclusive Capitalism with the Vatican. Sounds very fancy. And they say inside it, what their description of it is that we consider that inclusive capitalism is fundamentally about creating long-term value for all stakeholders, business, investors, employees, customers, governments, and communities. So if you just scroll down on the very same page on their website, and it says the heading is Aspirations for Systemic Change. And lo and behold, wait for this, Council members make actionable commitments aligned with the World Economic Forum in Davos, of course, international business, council pillars for sustainable development creation, people, planet, principles of governance and prosperity, and that advance the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In other words, Agenda 2030, because if you scroll just further under what I've just read there now as well on their website, you'll see the lovely Sustainable Development Goals, all 17 of them are there on the page. So the Vatican, all these organizations are working. And if you see who some of the people are actually involved on their own website, the usual culprit names that we've been speaking about time and time again, you have the Ford Foundation on it, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, you have Merck, you have MasterCard, and lo and behold, we just spoke about them, you have Johnson & Johnson. And there's many, many more involved in that as well. So this is the way they are shaping society. And, people thinking, that the Pope is great and he's this and that. He's involved in all this stuff, the Agenda 2030. They're all in on this game to where they want to take humanity to well, dystopian, but selling it as a utopian place that people can go. So it's insanity. But that was just an interesting clip as well that I came across as well. That's been highlighted again in articles, but as I say, it's been going on for the last couple of years that they've been involved in that as well. The Pope is no better, so he's far from any angel.
And like if you're not aware of Agenda 2030, we both have Sandy Adams on, who goes into detail, and it's actually interesting. So just check our previous episodes, and you'll see, she's been studying that for a few years, and explains it in great detail. Yeah.
Sandy's very well versed in Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and if anybody wants to check her out, just type in sandyadams.uk, spelled SANDIADAMS.uk. And it's worth checking out if you are or happen to be new to what Agenda 21/Agenda 2030 is. She breaks it down in sort of a basic concept to get people to understand it without using big jargon words and all this kind of stuff. So, worth checking it out. So we had her both on our podcast, and she's very well.
We can get the links for our podcast as well on the description below. So, if you're interested in listening.
Exactly.
Like I know we were going to talk about like Amazon and all that, but we'll actually do that next week because I think there's a lot in it. But regarding the Freedom Broadcasters as well, Telegram is very good for us. So we've set up a Telegram group. So we'll put that in the link as well. So if you're on Telegram, basically start following us. And when we put up stuff, you'll see it, because a lot of the time you get stuff fresh, and we're actually trying to ring fence everything to make sure that we're not putting out fake information. So we're trying to making sure we're getting it from reliable sources.
No, definitely. And like I said, because on the last podcast we had done, I think it was nearly 2 weeks ago or so at this stage, we said we're going to talk about the food and all that, and it's funny in a sense that the day we said in that podcast we're going to talk about 24 hours later or so here in England, they talk about the food shortages because of they close off all the borders because the alleged new strain has just miraculously come out of their arse, and now we have a new strain of the virus to worry about. So they stopped all the truckers in France coming through the borders and all this kind of stuff. So there was mayhem over that as well, but it was actually stuff before that we were going to go into. So I think there's so much information on the Amazon stuff and this kind of food shortage regards the soybean situation, all that across Southern America and places across the world, that we'll just do one on that alone. That'll just literally be concerning those two topics, is the Amazon and food shortages. In that we'll do a separate podcast just on those two topics alone.
No, perfect. Yeah. So I think we've reached our kind of half-hour mark. So
nice short one for this week. Yeah. No, that was pretty much just a little kind of quick short one for this week. I mean, the information is coming in by the hour nearly. I've just a whole stack full information. I've just packed up one side and more parked up one side, I should say, at the moment. It's just so much of it to get through, and we'll hopefully have a lot more and better even information we can go to next week on the podcast as well. But I would say we'll try and get into the other one before our usual weekly show next week, and try and get the Amazon and the food one in as well, kind of a couple of days beforehand.
Perfect. Yeah. So you'll find Chris on mindwars.uk. I'm on awakeningpodcast.org. We're on BitChute. We're on YouTube. We both have a LinkedIn tree as well, and we've got a donation box. So if you like what you're doing, you can actually, get us a coffee or a beer. It all helps, because we're dedicating full time to this now at the moment. And as I said, on the Freedom Broadcasters, it's freedombroadcasters.com. We'll have the links for that as well. So be sure to follow us. And we'd like to wish you and the listeners, thanks for giving us the support all through the year. And we'll bring you a lot more stuff next year. So Happy New Year. And until next year, you'll get plenty more. Take care.
Happy New Year. See you then.